Welcome to the Scenic Bookcast. Today, we are immersing ourselves in one of the most towering and, frankly, one of the darkest achievements in world literature, Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Our sources give us this really vivid summary of the plot and characters, but our mission today is to go a bit deeper. We want to distill the psychological, the philosophical journey of one man, Rodion Raskolnikov, and really try to understand why this book still feels so incredibly relevant.
Absolutely. And to even begin this deep dive, you have to understand this isn't just some clever murder mystery. Well, in many ways, it's an extension of Dostoevsky's own trauma. What's so fascinating is that to get the novel's obsession with suffering, with execution, you have to look at Dostoevsky's own life.
Yeah.
Before he wrote this, he was actually condemned to death.
Condemned to death. I mean, can you imagine?
In 1849, under Tsar Nicholas I, just for being part of a group that was, having some political conversations.
And that real-world context just hangs over the entire novel. The sources describe him being taken out to Semyonovsky Square, forced into the white shirt of the condemned,
With 21 others.
and bound to a stake. He genuinely believed he had minutes to live. It was pure psychological torture.
Exactly. And then, at the very last second, they're unbound. They're told the Tsar has commuted the sentence to hard labor in Siberia. And that experience, that absolute certainty of death, it left this permanent scar on his mind. You see it everywhere in his writing.
It's all about that moral agony.
It is. One of the other prisoners actually went mad right there on the spot. It shows you that the psychological cruelty can be just as fatal as the physical act.
So, if Dostoevsky's own life poses the question of how a person endures the unbearable, well, Raskolnikov tries to answer it by just rejecting suffering altogether. Let's jump into the setting. St. Petersburg. It's almost a character in itself, isn't it?
Oh, completely. We meet Rodion Raskolnikov. He's a former student, brilliant but totally isolated. He lives in this tiny room. The book calls it a hole or an awful little cupboard.
So his physical space is just a reflection of his mind.
Perfectly. He's consumed by what the source calls concentrated wretchedness and gloomy excitement.
And he's got this thought, this menacing idea that's been growing for about a month. And before he acts, the novel brilliantly sets up his justification by showing him this raw, visceral poverty.
Which is where we meet Marmeladov,
Right.
the drunken clerk. He embodies this absolute rock-bottom suffering. His face is bloated, yellowish. But it's his confession in the tavern that really lights the fuse for Raskolnikov.
Tell us about that.
He admits his family is destitute, and then he drops his bomb. He says he just drank away the last 30 kopecks his daughter Sonia earned.
Money she earned from prostitution.
Yes. And he's just destroyed by it. He cries out, "Do you understand, sir, what all that smartness means? And here I, her own father, here I took 30 kopecks of that money for a drink."
And that scene, that's the catalyst, right? It forces Raskolnikov to weigh one life against another.
It does. And then there's Sonia herself. She's described as this gentle creature with a soft little voice who sacrifices everything for her family.
Driven to it by her stepmother, Katerina Ivanovna, who is consumptive but still has this, aristocratic pride.
So what Dostoevsky is doing it's crucial. He's setting up two parallel sins. Raskolnikov is thinking about an intellectual, rational murder for a greater good,
A theoretical good.
whereas Sonia has already committed a kind of moral suicide for a very real, immediate greater good, feeding her family.
And this leads right to the core idea, the justification. He overhears this argument.
Which might just be his own thoughts, really.
Exactly, we're not sure, but the idea is simple. Sacrificing the sickly, stupid, ill-natured old woman, the pawnbroker Alyona Ivanovna, could save thousands from poverty.
It's just simple arithmetic.
It's radical utilitarianism, boiled right down.
It's the Napoleonic idea. If a few people have to go to achieve something great, well, extraordinary men have the right to make that call. He wants to prove he's one of them.
But the actual murder, it's the complete opposite of his neat little theory.
Oh, it's a disaster.
It's feverish chaos. He's distracted by these totally random thoughts, like, why do people live in such dirty parts of town?
It's an immediate failure. The man of reason, the Napoleon, just collapses. He gets a high fever right after. His attempts to hide what he stole are pathetic. He shoves it under some wallpaper, and it makes this huge bulge.
The intellectual just vanishes, and he's just a scared animal.
And crucially, the single justified murder becomes two.
He kills Alyona with the axe, and then her simple, gentle sister, Lizaveta, walks in.
And that's what truly devastates his theory. Lizaveta was innocent, pregnant, Harmless. She was the opposite of the louse he targeted.
So his reasoned act just created more meaningless, chaotic suffering.
Exactly. The theory failed right there, not when he got caught.
The psychological breakdown just continues. He thinks he's gotten away with it, but then he gets a summons to the police station.
But it's just for a small debt he owes.
Right. But the sheer relief he feels, followed by the guilt crashing back down, that's the beginning of the end for him.
And while all this is going on with Raskolnikov, Dostoevsky introduces this other character who's like a walking embodiment of Raskolnikov's theory, but without any of the grand philosophy.
You're talking about Luzhin.
Fyodor Petrovich Luzhin. He's just awful. He insults Raskolnikov's family, and then at Marmeladov's funeral dinner, he tries to frame Sonia by secretly planting a 100-ruble note on her.
He's pure, petty, rational self-interest. He's what Raskolnikov's idea looks like in the real world. No heroics, just spite.
Which brings us to, I think, the most fascinating part of the novel. The psychological battle with Porfiry Petrovich.
The examining lawyer.
He's a master psychologist.
Right.
And he already knows about an article Raskolnikov published.
The one where he divides all of humanity into ordinary people who have to follow the law.
And extraordinary men who have an inner right to, well, to step over obstacles. Like, say, an old pawnbroker.
So Porfiry takes Raskolnikov's own theory and just turns it into a weapon against him.
He does. He openly discusses it. He tells Raskolnikov he won't arrest him yet. He wants, and I quote, mathematically clear proof.
But what he really means is he wants Raskolnikov to confess. He's letting him walk around so the paranoia and guilt will just eat him alive.
It's a brilliant cat-and-mouse game. He doesn't need a smoking gun. He just needs to prove the theory itself was a failure. He even says, perhaps it was one of these future Napoleons who did for Alyona Ivanovna.
He's poking him constantly.
Constantly.
And this pressure is, for a moment, led up by this peasant, Nikolai, who suddenly confesses to the murders.
Yes, and his reason is so important. He's not guilty. He confesses because he wants to take his suffering.
It's a religious impulse.
It's a deeply orthodox Christian idea. Suffering is a path to redemption. For Nikolai, it's a spiritual act. For Raskolnikov, suffering is just pointless. It's an error in the system.
And speaking of moral vacuums, now the cynical Svidrigailov shows up.
Svidrigailov is Raskolnikov's dark shadow. He's a man who actually lives without a conscience. He has this awful past suspected of causing the deaths of a servant and a young girl.
And he's fascinated by Raskolnikov's crime. He sees him almost like a kindred spirit or maybe an interesting experiment.
He's the proof of what Raskolnikov's extraordinary man would actually be. Not a hero saving humanity, but a hedonistic, amoral monster.
So now we get to the absolute heart of it. Raskolnikov confesses to Sonia.
It's this incredible scene. He's totally vulnerable, but he's still trying to intellectualize it. He even tries to argue that her sin, prostitution, is the same as his, murder.
Because they both destroyed a life.
Right. But Sonia doesn't condemn him. Her reaction is just pure compassion. She tells him to stop philosophizing and to go confess, to embrace suffering as the only way back.
And then he finally admits the real reason.
And it's a devastating admission of failure. He says, it was not so much the money I wanted. I wanted to find out then and quickly whether I was a louse, like everybody else, or a man.
And the verdict.
He failed the test. I had not the right to take that path, he says, because I am just such a louse as all the rest. The crime didn't prove he was extraordinary. It just proved he was ordinary.
And right after this, things just accelerate. Svidrigailov corners Raskolnikov's sister, Dunya.
Yes, he locks her in a room. She shoots at him with a revolver, one he'd actually taught her how to use, and just grazes his temple.
But when she makes it clear she could never love him, shouting, "Never!" he just lets her go. He gives her the key.
It's this strange, unexpected moment of something. It's not redemption, but it's a flicker of humanity.
Then, in a final act that just confirms his whole nihilistic worldview, he gives away a bunch of money and commits suicide. He chooses nothingness.
And that pushes Raskolnikov, urged on by Sonia, to finally confess. But even then, he can't fully commit.
He goes to the Haymarket, like Sonia told him, and he kisses the filthy earth.
But people just laugh at him. They think he's drunk or a religious pilgrim. He does the ritual, but he still can't bring himself to say the words out loud. His pride is still fighting.
But he does confess eventually, and thanks to his friend Razumihin bringing up some good deeds he'd done in the past.
Like saving kids from a fire.
He gets a relatively light sentence, 8 years of penal servitude in Siberia.
And this is where we get the deepest, most ironic part of the whole novel, the epilogue.
Yeah, his suffering in prison. It's not from guilt, is it?
Not at all. It's from wounded pride. Our sources say he found no terrible fault in his past, except a simple blunder which might happen to anyone.
So he still thinks his theory was right. He just messed up the execution.
Exactly. He hated his punishment because it forced him to submit to the idiocy of the sentence of the
Mm.
common people. He looked down on the other convicts, and they hated him for it.
So his real regeneration, the story of the gradual renewal of a man, that only starts at the very, very end.
Only when he gets physically sick, breaks down completely, and finally has a real moment of love in connection with Sonia.
Yeah.
It took years to break through that wall of intellectual pride.
So we followed this whole journey from this grand Napoleonic idea all the way down to the shattering realization that his real suffering was just a bruised ego.
And that's the question the novel leaves for you, doesn't it? Dostoevsky suggests Raskolnikov's true agony wasn't guilt over the murder, but finding out he was not the Superman he imagined himself to be. So the question is freedom found through this kind of revolutionary self-will? Or is it found the way Sonia suggests, by accepting our common humanity and embracing suffering? That choice is where his renewal, and maybe our own, truly begins.
That's a deep, dark thought to end on, but it is absolutely central to this incredible book. Thank you for diving into the source material with us on the Scenic Bookcast.
Until next time.